Welcome to The Total Woman. We have a wonderful, talented cellist with us, and later you're going to get a chance to hear her play, which is such a treat. But for the time being, I'm going to introduce her, Velleda Miragias. Well, I met you at a concert. A friend of mine told me that there was this wonderful classical concert that happened in a local church here in Stoneham.
Yeah.
It was a remarkable experience. We were sitting there with friends, and I always think, and this is a terrible way to think, and I'm embarrassed that I feel this way or I spoke this way, but I said to myself, oh, this will be cute. You know, this is a church and they're going to have some musicians here, and, you know, I'm sure it'll be fine. I didn't expect what I heard. I was really almost blown out of my seat. My husband turned to me and went, you were absolutely angelic, celestial. Your music really took you to another place, which is the best part of music.
Oh, that's so sweet.
It gets into your heart and expands everything, and you think this is such a wonderful moment. It's why people go to see live entertainment, because they want that moment, and you provided it. Let's start off with your childhood. Always a good place to start. Where did you grow up?
So, well, I was born in France, in Paris, and we moved quite a bit. So, you know, I spent the first couple of years in Paris, and my father had an internship as an architect in Montreal, so we spent a couple of years there, where my little brother was born, and then we came back to France. And then my parents were a little tired of the big city. Paris is a beautiful city, you know, but it can be tough when you like a little more laid-back lifestyle with children. And so we ended up living in really beautiful areas called Le Lot and La Corrèze, and we moved a few times, but and until I went back to Paris to study at the conservatory and so forth.
And how long were you at the conservatory?
Well, a good chunk of time, because, I mean, first I went to the conservatory where I was living, which was in Brive, Tulle and Brive. And then when I was 14, actually, I left to go to Paris to study in high school that did a combined program with the conservatory.
Oh, wow.
That's great. So we were exclusively musicians with dancers that were doing this program.
Nice. But you lived away from your family.
I did, yeah.
So it's like boarding school in a way.
Kind of, yeah. It is definitely a challenging time, for sure. 14 is young, yeah. Yes. 14 and a half, I was kind of, you know, but
1/2 year or more. It doesn't make that much a difference, but it sounds better somehow.
Yes.
Now, were you always with the cello?
So I started with the piano at 4 and the cello at 7, and I always did both. I love the piano still to this day. The cello kind of grabbed my heart in a more definite way, and my cello teacher was also very passionate, and she also made sure that I practiced the cello. So so I ended up focusing on the cello. But I always kept playing, even to this day, like when I want to relax and unwind, I'll just play the piano. My favorite thing to play is the preludes and fugues by Bach.
Yes.
Which is the most structuring and soothing and just peaceful thing for me to play. It's almost like it unlocks my mind from the stress or whatever. And as a result, then I just kept pursuing the cello more specifically.
It's wonderful to find something in your life that does that. Everybody finds a different, well, some people never find it, but we all find different ways of calming our mind and our body, and being able to, I always think of it as floating, to just be lifted up somehow, and you don't have to use any effort, it's just there.
Yeah.
And it's a blessing to be able to do that, and it's a blessing to have a little turnkey that you know works for you.
It really is, yeah.
And interesting that it's the piano rather than your instrument of
Cello.
choice.
Yeah, it is interesting because actually, I don't remember exactly how old I was, but when I really had the revelation that music was what I was supposed to do and I wanted to be a musician. Like I've always loved music and I grew up surrounded with music. And but I did a lot of, I mean, I was cellist, I was also playing the piano, and I used to sing a lot in a chorus. In fact, when I was quite young, even from, at the conservatory, and also in a chorus with adults, and I used to be the solo. Actually, I used to do some solo, so actually I had a lot of exposure that way. But I still remember that one night I was just playing those Bach preludes and fugues, and I kept working on this one, and there was all those flats and kind of intricate parts, and so. But I was determined, so I was practicing it slowly and really trying to iron out those passages. And at some point, my heart just really leaped, and I remember thinking, "This is what I need to be doing. This is just what brings me to a place that nothing else quite does." And so I kind of felt like it was not necessarily the piano itself, but it was the music.
Yes.
And it's almost like it can be, it's universal, right? So that kind of moment, catalytic moment for me, it happened while I was playing the piano. But I think it was also a season in my life where I was so exposed to different things, and so and my love for Bach has never left me.
No, it never left me either.
Yeah,
He's my favorite.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I get kidded that I like Bach because of the heavy backbeat. It doesn't really have a heavy backbeat.
The heavy backbeat?
But Bach is so, can be so delicate, at the same time it can be so powerful and move you.
Yeah.
So, and I think I grew up with classical music also, and I think sometimes it's because great genius has the ability, centuries later, to move us in a way that he tried to move people in his own time. And I love that. I love that there's some universalist line there, that certain movements bring you to tears, certain movements get you kind of worked up, and to have the genius to be able to write that and then have it interpreted by thousands, millions probably in his case, of musicians, and to have it still stay so stable and so almost new. I can see, if I were a musician, a professional musician, that I would love that challenge. I would love to see how you could work it and how you make those feelings come in yourself and in the people who listen to you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I feel like a big part of it is really connecting deeply with your own expression.
I'm sure that's true.
And some of the most intense moments, even for me, like playing the cello, have been while playing Bach.
Yes.
Sometimes I just spent hours and hours on one of those movements and feeling such intensity internally, and it was perfectly satisfying. Like it almost felt like, I mean, obviously you want to eventually perform and so forth, but there was such a deep connection with this music. So when I perform Bach, actually I try to retrieve those moments. I try to remember how deep I was connected to the music, and in particular when I was younger, because I used to play all those Bach suites, of course, and I also enjoy when my students work on those Bach suites, because it kind of reminds me also of when I was a student and working on Bach and seeing them enjoy it as well. It's fascinating to see generation after generation, just the magic continuing,
It is magic. I think we're going to listen to you play for a little while, so we'll break away for a few minutes and you can enjoy her remarkable playing of Mr. Bach. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. As a matter of fact, I don't have to hope it. I know that you enjoyed it. We were talking about the emotional aspects of music, particularly the music of Johann Sebastian Bach. And I think about symphonies. Have you ever played in a symphony?
Yes.
Did you like it?
I do, yeah, I do. Well, I play with orchestras here, for instance, like the Boston Philharmonic. We play a lot of symphonies, and with, we played this summer at Monadnock Festival, we played Beethoven Symphony, and yes, it's a lot of fun. It's different, completely
yes,
different.
It's completely different.
It's very
I
rich. You're part of a big fabric of of sound, and it's a lot of fun.
I used to be a singer also in large chorales and did solo work too, but I love the chorales and the large groups because the sound, you hear the rest of the sound. And I'm sure this is true of the orchestra situation too. It's coming from behind you, it's coming from your sides, and you're looking at the conductor, and you know what you're playing, and you hear what you're playing. But in a funny sort of way, you hear it in the context of everything else, other than thinking just about the line that you're playing. You see how it fits together with everything else.
Yeah.
It's really exciting. I remember sometimes I used to lose track of where I was because I was so overwhelmed.
It's so distracting. I know.
I know.
Sometimes.
Do you have that too?
Well, it is kind of, every once in a while I kind of marvel at the fact that each individual is so essential.
Yes.
And sometimes we may feel less important because of the different positions and so forth, but actually every single person makes the entire sound.
Yes.
And so it's important to keep remembering that whatever brick we put on to build this wall is what really creates this extraordinary sound.
And it's also that coming together.
Right.
That sense of coming together. You can't do it alone.
Right.
And it's so remarkable to be dependent in a wonderful way on other people. I mean, this is true with the Total Woman. Every camera person in here, everybody in that control room back there is doing something that makes the whole work. But you can't do it without it. You can't get actually what you want without that.
Yeah.
So do you specialize in Bach?
Oh, yes and no. I mean, Bach was definitely like a very significant influence in my life. Like even singing, I used to sing a lot of Bach, and in those kind of early years, I didn't pursue singing quite as much, though I still really love singing. But then you learn everything because
Yes, you have to.
Everything is beautiful, quite
Yes.
frankly. Like when people ask me who's your favorite composer, I usually say everyone kind of is to some extent, because you can love any piece.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some are better than others for sure, but there is beauty in so many different styles. And
Yes.
I also love newer music and romantic music, and I love exploring different sound qualities and
Yes.
different interpretations. So, but Bach is very formative for sure, and I also enjoy Baroque music, so I play also on a period instrument.
Yes. Let's talk about the instrument itself. The better you play, the better the instrument needs to be.
Yes, ideally.
Do you have that having to shut off one cello and replace it with another one?
Yeah, and it's always very painful because it's extremely expensive.
And you want to be sure
Yeah,
the next
and
one is.
musicians are usually not the wealthiest.
Yes.
I mean, there's so, and the prices are exorbitant because they're considered pieces of artwork.
Oh, yes, they are.
So, which they are, right? So, it's actually difficult too when you're with your students, when you're trying to help them get better instruments. But like the prices are just really high. So I was fortunate to have some sponsors help me acquire that beautiful French cello, Bernardel, which is from 1829. So it's from a little while ago, but
Yes.
but it's in good condition, and I really like the kind of dark, deep sound, but yet with some brilliance to it. So
Everyone is different.
everyone,
Yeah.
and even from the same maker.
Yes. Variations.
Yeah,
Time of the year, season it's made, atmosphere.
right. The quality of the wood, and
Yes.
and the season in the career of the maker also.
of
Because
course.
they evolve, and right. Yeah.
So you want them in their hot period in the middle,
yeah, if you can,
if you can. Yes.
if you come across it.
I remember in a movie or something like that, a cellist discussing the fact that by encasing the cello with your own body, that the life of it and the vibration of it and the heartbeat of it is yours. Do you feel that?
Yeah, very much. It's true that's one of the reasons why I think I really like the cello, because you feel like you become like one, and there is very much of a symbiosis between you and the instrument, and it is a lot of fun to hold it, to hold it around. It is a really nice, pleasant instrument to play.
And a beautiful one to hear.
I have to say, I do love the range of the cello. I love every instrument, of course, but the fact that it's the range of the human voice, you can make it sound like a male singing,
Yes.
or up to a female voice. It's actually
Yes.
pretty much the whole range.
Well, I think we're going to take a fast break now and hear another piece from you, which will be a delight, and then we'll be back. Welcome back. Let's talk a little bit about the second piece.
So the woman who was one of the crew members was very sweet, and she's like, "Can you play another one?" She just said she was really enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
So, which I thought was so sweet, and I like being spontaneous.
Yes.
But then which one, right? Because they're also beautiful. I was thinking so I ended up. So first I played the preludes in D minor,
Oh, I love those.
which is the opening piece between quotes of the second suite, which was written in the 1720s, early 20s, and then I ended up thinking, how about playing the first prelude in G major, that everybody knows. That's kind of was the staple of the Bach
Sure.
suite. So it has that bright major quality to it, and
Yes.
it's has a lot of energy, and we're just forever grateful to Pablo Casals that he kind of brought back those Bach suites that
Yes.
had been kind of forgotten.
Yes. So when you decided that the cello was what you wanted to play, and obviously you enjoyed playing Bach the best, what other kind of music do you enjoy playing? Maybe just for yourself? Do you do contemporary pieces?
Yeah, I do. I do a lot. I mean, you know, you enjoy working on all the big repertoire, you know, the concertos and the Bach sonatas and etudes. I actually enjoy etudes.
Yes.
I think that they're a lot of fun. And
Yes.
to this day, I often start my day with pulling an etude. I like pulling any one of those books out, and it's like a puzzle, you know. I like the intricate fingerings blowing through to
Yes.
figure it out. So it's kind of always stimulating.
It's a challenge.
It is, and
Yes.
it's fun, and it keeps me sharp. I feel like,
Of course.
you know, it keeps my chops, so I like doing that. But really, I enjoy a pretty wide variety of repertoire, and there is some other beautiful suites for cello solo. Britten wrote some really beautiful ones that
I was going to ask you about Benjamin Britten. That's so strange.
Oh gosh!
Have you ever
yes.
played the War Requiem?
No, I haven't played that. But I've played the suites for cello solo.
Yeah.
That are really beautiful, really beautifully written.
He's a fascinating writer.
He really is, yeah.
I mean, he's always a surprise. I never get the feeling when I hear of any of his work that it's that similar to something else. You know, you don't always identify it with his hand.
It is.
Like
it
he's
is
fresh
kind of
each time.
It is.
Yes.
It's very true. It is very unique, and it's so intense to play actually, and they have their own set of challenges, but the harmonies are so rich.
Yes.
And the way he treats all the intervals and double stops, you know,
Yes.
when you play notes
Yes.
together, and it's really it's very rewarding to
Yes.
play. Very
He's
much so.
adventuresome.
He really is.
Yes.
He really is.
And it's as a viewer or a listener, takes a lot of concentration
Yeah.
to stay with him.
Yes.
Because he gets away from you.
Right.
And I'm sure that the musicians that are playing it fear that also, that it will kind of get away from them.
Yeah, to some extent. I mean, I remember performing in France a few years ago, one of the suites. So I had combined, I was playing a Bach suite, and then I was playing a Britten suite, the first one, and then Quesado, which is another suite for cello,
Yes.
which is very beautiful, kind of more flamenco Spanish style. And I was kind of impressed when I was talking with the some of the audience members afterwards, that they kind of stayed interested and engaged. And I think because so the Breton suite has so many contrasting movements, like there's a kind of slow, almost religious kind of Gregorian chant motive, and then it goes into a fugue with themes that kind of are intricate and overlapping each other, and so it constantly changes. And in the same time, you recognize some underlying theme. And I think that's what usually keeps the ear kind of tuned in. And they're just so well written. So I think we're talking about what's beautiful versus what's less. I think when music is well written,
absolutely,
it keeps you, even though it's something that's completely foreign. It may be some intervals that are a little uncomfortable or bold for maybe the lay listener, but somehow it keeps their attention.
Well, you've kept my attention, that's for sure, and we're out of time. It flies. It just flies by.
Yes.
I would love to have you back, and we could talk more about
that's
music.
so
That would be
sweet.
wonderful.
Thank
Thank you
you
for being with us this evening on The Total Woman.